This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I present to you the sport, no entertainment event of the year. It's Lions versus Saints. We've got 90 points in one game, a 300-pound man scoring a touchdown. We've got great punt returns, followed by boneheaded punt returns. We've got 5 turnovers from your franchise quarterback. You have a 35-point lead, nearly squandered in the fourth quarter. You name it, it's all here. This is not a charade. This is not a dream. You can be a proud member, a proud participant, and viewer of the greatest entertainment event that anyone has seen. It's Lions versus Saints 2017. It's the Hindsight 20 podcast. I'm your host, Jerry Mallory. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Yesterday happened. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's not a dream. It's not a nightmare. On the one hand, you have your nightmare that was Saints versus Lions, but you have your dream, right? For some of you, let's be honest. We can sit here and try to sugarcoat it, or be PC, or say you want to win no matter what. Aaron Rodgers being out for the season, for many of us, raise your hand if you're one of them. It's a dream, all right? So what? We're going to be honest. But these things actually happen. It's not a figment of our imagination. We're here to talk about it all today. What a crazy game. Range of emotions. And we'll get into why we chose that song, Saint Anger, and how it went from being Saint Anger to like that circus that we played at first. As always, a proud member of two things, two factions, two groups, two supreme media outlets for Detroit Sports, excuse me, a little tied tongue. First off, you've got the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. It's not just me. It's a cast and crew each and every day. You'll be delighted to hear them, whether it's Red Wings, Pistons, Tigers, Lions, Michigan State. It's all there. Detroit Sports Podcast Network, and a proud member of the premier Detroit Lions website, all right? No, not DetroitLions.com, not MLive, not Freep. I'm talking about prideofdetroit.com. So let's talk about this game, guys. 52-38. We were down 35 points in the third quarter. We take it to within a score in the fourth quarter, and, it just wasn't enough. Couldn't get the win. Now, you know how I do on this thing. I try to give you a little bit something different. Try not to just regurgitate what everyone else has said. So let's just go through my range of emotions as we're going through this game. So as it's starting off and, we're stinking up the joint that first half and we're down, 31-10. That's why I chose that song, Saint Anger by Metallica. The boys at Pride Detroit have that rage corner on their podcast where they let each other have it. They let everything have it. It's all negativity. It's all anger. And that was me. All right. People texting me. I'm being rude. I mean, it was just pathetic, man. All the turnovers, the offensive line, the circus that was Stafford, he has to take some blame. We'll talk about him in a second. It was all anger. And so since we were playing the Saints, I said, what better song to lead the show off than Saint Anger? I'm sure all of you as a Lions fan base was angry. I mean, this was pathetic, man. But then things changed. So the third quarter happens, and now it's like, I'm no longer angry. This is funny. All right. This is a circus. All right. You're down 21, now 28, now 35. They're taking, mock group photos and, everything is just happy sunshine and roses. I mean, the Saints fans had every reason to be as boisterous as they were. The Saints themselves, the players, had every reason to be as boisterous as it was. And so it got so bad for me that it was no longer, all right, the anger was gone. It was hilarious. I'm sitting there cracking up, laughing. My wife looking at me like, are you okay? Are you going crazy? I mean, 45-10. That's funny, dude. Oh, another pick six. All right, another batted ball. Oh, another offensive lineman is hurt. Oh, another one. Now it's Glover Quinn and Golden Tate. That's not really funny, but, the shuffle of the offensive line, the 16,000 batted balls, the 55 turnovers. Let's get out of New Orleans as quick as we can while we still have a few players left. It was comical, all right? It was a circus. I was cracking up laughing. I kid you not. So I'm on my little group chat, and my one buddy's forever the optimist. And I even told him, hey, if they come back and win this game, I can't even tell you what I told him I'd do, but it was something that probably none of us wanted to see. And that was just a way of me saying how confident I was that there would not be a comeback. I mean, 45-10, this thing is over, right? And then we started, Darius Slay with a turnover. Jamal Agnew runs one back. Stafford with a nice pass to Darren Fells. And then A'Shawn Robinson got the pick six. And I'm like, wait a minute. Then we get the stop. So we've got the ball, albeit like on the half-yard line. Thanks, Jamal. That's typical rookie, right? Runs by everybody, gets the touchdown. But, number one, he has a very bad taunt, which I actually like. It's kind of cool, waving bye-bye to the guy, which was a 15-yard variety. Didn't affect us too much. And then he, has the gaff where we start the ball on the one. So, just like a rookie, right? One step forward, two steps back, but you gotta love the guy. He's electric. So, but yeah, you have that return, and then you have what A'Shawn Robinson did, and you get the stop. It's like, dude, you mean to tell me on a day where Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, we come back 45-10 and, maybe tie this game and win this game? I mean, so just for a brief second, you got that sweat, right? Like the, are they actually about to do it? It has become a condition. We can complain about the comebacks as much as we want. We shouldn't have to depend on them. It is a condition now in Detroit. When we get behind and then we start coming back and we get close, we kind of expect things. And I think I was one of the last ones to kind of jump on that, to say, yeah, Stafford will lead us back. Because I'm like, it can't be every time, right? But he did it so much last year, you start to believe in it. And so just for a brief moment there, come on. You're going to sit here and tell me you didn't feel the same way? Like this is the mother of all comebacks. Perhaps this would have been the one to where like it ends them. All right. We don't have to rely on the comeback every week. Like this was the one, this was the baby was born. Here it is. This is the comeback, the mother of all comebacks, to end all comebacks. Right. But, of course, in the words of Frank Costanza, we stopped short. We didn't quite get it. And, the loss is here. And so let's talk about a few things. First off, and there will be a lot of Aaron Rodgers talk and a lot of Matthew Stafford talk. Matthew Stafford is off right now, and he has been for a few weeks. Now, I know who's blocking for him. I did a podcast for Pride Detroit years ago, and I remember some of my whipping boys was Steven Peterman. Who else was a whipping boy? My Rayola, he had a bad year and an okay year. Man, I mean, Steven Peterman looks like David DeCastro. Steven Peterman looks like, you name it. Pouncey, you pick the best guard. Zach Martin. Steven Peterman looks like a Hall of Fame, like a 99 Madden rated guard, 99 rated offensive lineman compared to your Greg Robinsons, your Brian, Malik, whatever, dude. Milk. I call you Brian Milk. These guys, Dominic Raiola looks like the best offensive lineman ever compared to what we have been subjected to. Anytime Emmett Cleary comes in the game and he is not your second, not even your third worst offensive lineman, he's one of your best that game, you got a serious problem. So I get it. The offensive line has been horrible and they're not being let off the hook. However, that does not absolve Matthew Stafford for the things that he's done. When you have a bad offensive line and the pressure is there, dude, I know you're trying to make something happen and we love you for it, but you got to throw that ball away. You got to take the sack. You got to do something. And scheme comes into play as well too. Some rollouts, heck, 6 linemen, I mean, that's kind of hard to say for that game. You didn't barely have 5 healthy linemen. You want a 6th guy to be out there as a quote unquote eligible tight end. But seriously, scheme has to get creative, but then Stafford too, man. His awareness is, he just seems off and he's holding on to the ball too long. You gotta ding him for that, the strip sack and the fumble for not, finding a way. And granted, you're in that end zone area, so you don't want to really have an intentional grounding back there because it's a safety. But man, the turnovers are bad. The tips. I heard on Twitter, Justin Rogers was kind of saying it was on Stafford, probably Detroit guy saying that. I don't care. Not that I don't care, but I'm somewhere in between probably. But I'm talking about these fumbles, man. It's been a lot lately. And they're sloppy, they're goofy, and Stafford just seems off. Now, 2 parallels to Aaron Rodgers, a good and a bad. So depending on what side of the coin you want to be on, you're pro Stafford now or you're anti-Stafford. Let's start with the bad news. Because I've seen elite quarterbacks, and we're going to talk about one specifically, Aaron Rodgers, have just that attrition, the battle of attrition, the offensive lineman down, backup, 3rd string, horrible offensive lineman, and he finds a way to get it done. So if you're elite, and I don't like talking about the money thing, it's just if you want to be elite, if you want to be that type of franchise quarterback, I've seen the best struggle with offensive linemen and they figure it out. Now, part of that is scheme. I've seen years where the New England Patriots, the blocking isn't there, so they're on the 3-step drops. They're on the quick slants, I should say. And Rodgers does as well, but it's some scheme, but it's some quarterback as well. So Stafford's getting beat down, bruised, but at some point, if he is the guy, it's got to be better than this. Okay, I don't expect you to be. And, I don't care about QBRs and quarterback ratings and stats as much. I don't expect you to be statistically great when the offensive line is this bad. I don't expect a lot of yards. I don't expect a lot of points, but I expect you to be better than what you are. I expect you to be the level you were against the Giants, where the offensive line was taking a beating, but he still just, he didn't have the turnovers. And so you let your defense kind of keep you in the game and you're just kind of plugging along. You're getting beat down. Even, the Vikings game, which he was a little off too, but, you're getting beat down, but the ineffective offensive line is meaning you're not getting a lot of points. Maybe you're just getting 14 points. If you're lucky, you can get 17, maybe 20 points. You're not moving the ball like you want, but you're not having these ridiculous fumbles, all these near fumbles, and now the interceptions. And so Stafford, he has looked off, and that's the bad news. Now here's the good news, because around this time last year, people were just writing off Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been right for a year, and now the first 4 or 5 games of this year, and has he lost this? Has he lost that? And he didn't do the relax this season. He didn't do it last season, I should say. But he did tell everyone, hey, it is early. I'm not telling you to relax. The infamous relax year where he was right. It was early then, and they righted the ship. But the thing is, he did tell everyone, in essence, to relax. We're 4 or 5 games in. I've looked off. The team's looked off, but we can get this thing right. And I still feel like that's the case with the Lions, and that's the case with Stafford. He's had a couple of good games, and unfortunately, too many bad games early on, but the thing can turn around. It kind of leads into a question that Sam Wilkinson asked. He's one of my biggest supporters, and I appreciate the love. He's always come through, and he's always been a big supporter. So thank you. Try Sam too on Twitter. Sam Wilkinson. He asked the question: what is the biggest issue? Is it the Lions offense or the Lions defense? And for me, I think, it's hard because both are issues, but I think the Lions defense is a bigger issue. And it ties in with the offense. I can see getting better with health, and I expect Stafford to kind of turn this thing around. I expect to see a little bit more out of him. He's done it. He's capable of it. I'm just going to chalk up the last 2.5 games to just being off, and it happens. Like I said, the greats, the Aaron Rodgers have stretches where they look bad. But when it happens like early in the season, you start to say, man, is this going to be them for the whole year? Every great player, whether it's a quarterback, running back, you name it, they're going to have a stretch where, 2, 3, maybe even 4 games, it's just not their games. Well, Stafford just did 2 in a row. And so we're expecting, okay? I'm going to say he's due. I'll give him credit and say he's due to have a streak of consistency. All right. We already know the naysayers about Stafford. I'm not going there. But the question that Tri-Sam asked, to get back to it, what's more of a concern, the offense or the defense? To me, the defense is more of a concern. They're very turnover dependent. So when the turnover battle is not in their favor, they're going to struggle because I think it's a personnel issue and it's up front. Whereas with the offense, I think things can be corrected a little bit with health. Taylor Decker, TJ Lang, and then an adjustment of scheme. Jim Bob Cooter, it's time to go to the drawing board. It's time to draw up some plays that will benefit this team. We know the guys aren't getting separation like they should. We know the line has been bad, but it's your job to be inventive, to be creative, to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure this thing out. And I think he's capable of doing it, along with the added health. Not having Kenny Golladay, I think it's affected us because he's someone that was a deep ball option. I know he's a rookie, and counting a rookie is risky because he could have just been out there but not effective. But I'm of the belief that, he would have at least taken the top off the defense a time or two, which can help guys that struggle with separation like Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. And so with added health and with adjustment to scheme, I think the offense can get better. Defensively, yeah, it's possible too. But number one, the injuries on defense are a little bit more long lasting, I guess, if that's a word. Well, it is a word, but if it's the correct usage of it in this application, you look at Kerry Hyder, your best pass rusher, all last year, out for the year. Ziggy Ansah's playing, but dude is not doing it. Is it a long-term deal with that knee or the ankle or whatever is bothering him, where we've seen guys like this? And I don't want to compare him to Levy yet, but I just did. So do what you want with that. And so the personnel, in my opinion, isn't there on the defensive line. The pass rush, I don't really care what Pro Football Focus rated these guys as all being kind of good last game. I'm not seeing it. And to me personally, it's just not there. And so no matter what you do, I don't think it's a scheme. I don't think it's a guy that's going to come back, that's going to kind of jolt that defense. Whereas on offense, I think some adjustments by Jim Bob Cooter, the return of Decker, Lang, if he can stay healthy, I think all of those things will help the offense. So I am a little more worried about the defense. I think the offense has an opportunity to kind of right their ship, but I'm worried about both, and I guess that's a Madden statement. That's the first one of the podcast. I'm worried about both. Who isn't? We just lost a game, 52-38, where even though scoring 38, the offense, a lot of that was not because of them, and it was, it wasn't impressive. So I am more worried about the defense, but I'm worried about both. All right, guys, we're going to get a little bit more positive, I guess, when we come back. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers' injury. We're going to look at the scope of the Lions as we, are at the bye and move forward from there. So take a deep breath. The Saint Anger segment is gone. And for any of my 3-year-old listeners right now, I'm going to have a nice little segment for you. I'm going to give you the story of 2013, because this is not the first time that Aaron Rodgers has gone down with an injury. All right. So stay right there as we'll bring to you the second half of the Hindsight 20 podcast. All right, we're back on the Hindsight 20. We got to talk about a few of these injuries, and I played So Fresh and So Clean because, number one, it's a great song. But when you're so fresh and so clean, you're fly. You got swagger. You got that style. Your GQ. So we're thinking about your GQ, Glover Quinn. We're hoping that you have a speedy recovery. It looks like it might be a concussion. It was one of those deals where kind of reminded me of Javed Best at Cal, when he had that bad concussion and his arm was kind of stuck up in the air. So it was a little bit scary. We have to remind her that, first and foremost, as a man, he seems as though a very likable, lovable guy, one of the leaders in the locker room. And add to all that, because, Haloti Ngata's a lovable guy, leader in the locker room, but I don't really think he was that good of a player anymore. Glover Quinn is that good of a player, in addition to being a leader in the locker room and a great guy, a nice guy. one of the best safeties in football this year. So from all accounts, it's a bad thing. We hope that the bye week gives him that week that he needs to recover and he comes back. But it's going to be a little bit of time before we know the severity of things, and we'll probably be getting updates, but we'll probably just be annoying Jim Caldwell 2 or 3 or 6 times in the next 2 weeks because he's not going to tell you much about Glover Quinn. Check the report, okay? Now, it's already been coming out that Golden Tate's going to be out for several weeks, so that means he probably misses the Steelers game in 2 weeks at least. And then, after that, you've got Green Bay on the road, the Brett Huntley-led Green Bay Packers. Those two hurt, man. I hate to do a bad joke about when I saw Greg Robinson was badly injured to say, good riddance. But when you lose a guy like Golden Tate that, first off, props, the people's elbow. He did a flip and a people's elbow. Golden Tate's just delightful. Great player. And that's the big thing you're going to miss. And then GQ. So we just got to sit back and, kind of wait and see what's going to happen. Now, Aaron Rodgers out for the year, broken collarbone. It would be very petty to celebrate good times, wouldn't it? And no, that doesn't mean I'm about to play it, but somewhere deep down in my heart, let's be honest. I know a lot of you were the same as me. When you saw that, you probably said, wait a minute. This race just got a lot easier. It did, man. The best player, arguably the best team, a guy that stirs the pot and any other cliche you want to use, he's out. He's out for the year. And so that changes everything. And even after a loss, and you're looking at 3-3, Vikings at 4-2, but we've already beat them. And now Green Bay, who knows what their record might be now, man? We don't. And this could be a battle to 9 wins. First to 9 wins takes it. But it's going to be weird. I don't think it's a situation where, a guy goes down, but the team's got so much depth and this and that. I think it's going to get ugly for Green Bay. If he's out for the whole year, they're at 4-2 right now. I'd probably give them 3 or 4 more wins without Aaron Rodgers, man. And that's about it. I can't see them getting much more than that. But this next segment is for my 3-year-old listeners. So you were born in 2014. Good year for the Lions. 11-5. Defense looked really good. Jim Caldwell's first year. Dominican Sue on the team. Didn't end so good. But the year before that, something happened. And it's why, although many of us that are over 3 years old, although we're ecstatic and we're happy that Aaron Rodgers is out, and that probably means the Lions' chance to win the division is that much greater, I give you the 2013 season. See, while you were in your mama's belly, the Lions had similar circumstances. There they were in the midst of an NFC North battle. Aaron Rodgers goes down. He's out for about 6-7 games for the good portion of the year. Believe it or not, the Bears were a contender. Jay Cutler, believe it or not, no, he wasn't good, but he was good enough. And he goes down. And so all roads led to the NFC North title. The Lions had it made. They had a good record. I mean, everything was just lined up. They had Stafford. They had everything they needed. And their 2 biggest competitors, their top signal callers were down. And they were losing. Packers were losing. Bears were losing. But the Lions were losing too. And Stafford goes on this horrible stretch of just turnover after turnover. It felt like it was a 70-yard field goal by Justin Tucker to win that game Monday Night Football. And the Giants with the pick 6. On and on and on. And so although Aaron Rodgers is out, Jay Cutler is out, and the NFC North was handed to us on a silver platter, we smacked that platter down instead of partaking. We said no. We don't want it. We viewed the NFC North as a hot potato. And they threw it to us, and we threw it back. And we were not victors. Our biggest competitors didn't have their biggest and best players. Injury after injury. We had a few injuries ourselves, but we were healthy enough. And we had Matthew Stafford, and we had Calvin Johnson, and we had Ndamukong Suh, and we went 7-9, not winning the division. And so this year, I'm not saying that is going to happen, but I mean, we're just a few years removed from this. We're just a few years removed from, on paper, we should be the team. We should be, we should be the champions by way of huge injuries. And so now we're racing against Brett Hundley and Case Keenum / a half knee between Bradford and Bridgewater and Mitchell Trubisky. I do, however, think it will be different this time. And I actually think it's going to happen. I think, where you want to put an asterisk on it or a default and, you couldn't do it with Aaron Rodgers healthy. However you want to put it, I think the Lions are in position. And I think this time they will get it done. Say what you want about Caldwell. I think we have a superior coach. And then, I just think our situation is better than it was at that point. Stafford's older, wiser, the whole 9 yards. But two, taking a look at our slate, our schedule, things are looking up. Now, I think the fact that we got 3-3 the way we did was kind of like, this is bad. But let's take a step back now. We're at the bye week, and the bye week can be a week of reflection. If someone could have told you that, we had that kind of tough first 8 games, really, people said the first 8 games are tough. The back 8 are easy. But someone could have told you that those first 6 into the bye we'd be 3-3. Would you have taken it? I'm going to say 65, 70, if not more of you would have said, yes, I'll take it. I would have been one of them saying, yes, I'll take it. I was expecting 2 wins. If we're really fortunate, 3, maybe even 1-5, because, the Giants were supposed to be better than what they were. Cardinals are kind of up and down, et cetera, et cetera. It was a very tough stretch of games. And lo and behold, these teams are decent. Saints at home and Panthers, they're good, et cetera, et cetera. Falcons are pretty good as well. And so 3-3 at this stage of the game is not too bad, because let's play the schedule game. Because, with Rodgers being out, we're watching our schedule. We're watching their schedule. I mean, I think the race is on at this point. I mean, I was kind of looking at things, and I was kind of sour on Green Bay, but after a tough loss this week, and if Green Bay would, if Rodgers stays healthy and he gets that victory, it's like, I don't know if we can catch these guys. 2 weeks of Monday Night Football is probably a loss, and, you're just hoping that you can get that win week 17, but history would say that you wouldn't, especially if it was an important game. But things have changed. And so, you've got Pittsburgh coming up, who have looked good. I mean, you've got the, we beat Kansas City on the road, Pittsburgh, but then you got the 5 interception, losing to the Jaguars, losing to the Bears, Pittsburgh. So what's it going to be? Which team is it? Green Bay now, it should be winnable. Brett Hundley, okay? You've got the Browns at home. You've got the Bears twice, Mitchell Trubisky. Thanksgiving, the Vikings look good, but it's a home game. We already beat them on the road. The Ravens have not looked good. Tampa Bay, that defense is pretty bad. And then you've got the Bengals, who have been up and down. They're currently 2-3. So overall, this schedule, it looks a lot more palatable. The back 8 was supposed to be easier, and lo and behold, I think it's going to be. You're talking about a 4-2 Green Bay Packers team, but minus Aaron Rodgers, that's not a 500 team. And then you've got the Browns, who's under 500, the Bears, who's under 500. You've got the Ravens at 500, the Bucks under 5. You've got Cincinnati under 5. None of these teams really scare me anymore. But the team that does scare me is the Lions. You know what I mean? So I feel as though in a couple of weeks, added health, get it out your system. Maybe they got it out their system, because I don't think the flashes of a strong team was a fluke those first few games, but it's just they're not doing it consistently yet. But I think the schedule was really lending to itself. And you look at that schedule with 10 games to go, you gotta find a way to win 6 of them, because 9-7 probably gets you this division, especially if that 9-7 is including a win over Minnesota, because then they have to be 10-6, a full game over you, or you win via the tiebreaker. Whereas the wild card is looking less and less likely, because you've already lost to, almost everybody in the NFC South. And, so those tiebreakers are going to be out the window. What is looking more likely now is a chance to compete by means of the division. Guys, it's been a fun show. We're going to be back next Monday. I'm going to be working out some things. It's the bye week, probably a year so far recap. where we thought we'd be, where we actually are, the whole 9 yards. I just can't get over that game, dude. 52-38. I don't know, man. Sometimes I sit back and I think, what if I wasn't just this rabid fan? Like, on Sunday, I don't know, doing, gardening while that circus is going on. It's crazy to think, but hey, that's not the case. We all are diehard, sickening, maddening, but at the same time, when the highs are high, we are lovely fans. Guys, this is going to do it until next Monday. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Listen, you can find me on PrideDetroit.com. You can find me on Twitter at Jerry Mallory NFL. You don't have to wait till next Monday to get my takes. You can see them all throughout the week in those allocated sections. But until next Monday, when we'll have hopefully a guest or two or a couple other things going on, this has been Jerry Mallory, and this has been the Hindsight 20 podcast. Thanks for listening.